She thought it was kindness. A neighbor who helped when her car broke down. A man who stepped in when the rent was due. Someone who said, "Don't worry, I've got you." But kindness can have a cost. And when the bill came due, it wasn't money he wanted. It was her freedom, her trust, her life. On October 12th, 2021, police entered a quiet Greensboro apartment to find 26-year-old Natalie Harris lying lifeless on the floor. A young woman with dreams of becoming a nurse. A sister, a daughter, a friend. Gone. The man who once paid her rent was now accused of taking her last breath. This isn't just the story of a murder. It's the story of how control can hide behind generosity, how help can turn into a weapon, and how one woman's determination to stay independent cost her everything. Natalie Harris grew up in Greensboro, North Carolina. She was the middle child of 3 siblings, known for her warmth, her smile, and her ability to light up a room. Her mother, Angela, would later describe her as the glue that held everyone together. Her father remembered her as someone who never let you leave the house without a hug. Natalie worked as a certified nursing assistant at St. Mary's Hospital. She was saving up to go back to school, determined to earn her degree in nursing. She often told friends, "One day, I'll have RN by my name. That's my goal." But like many young adults, she struggled financially. Rent on her small 1-bedroom apartment in East Greensboro ate up most of her paycheck. Bills stacked up. And while Natalie never complained, her friends knew she was under pressure. In March of 2021, Natalie's life crossed paths with a man named Ethan Ross. She was standing outside her apartment complex, frustrated after her car wouldn't start. Ethan, a neighbor a few doors down, noticed. He offered to help, jump-starting her car and joking about how old Hondas never die. At first, he seemed kind and charming in an awkward way. Natalie, always polite and trusting, thanked him. Within days, Ethan found excuses to talk to her again. He offered rides to work, asked about her life, and when Natalie admitted money was tight, he saw an opening. "I can help with rent if you need," Ethan told her. Natalie was taken aback, but he insisted, no strings, just helping a neighbor out. At first, it was $200, then $400. Eventually, he was paying her rent in full. Natalie's friends warned her, "Be careful. No man does this without wanting something." But Natalie, grateful for the support, believed his words. She believed it really was just kindness. She was wrong. Ethan Ross was 34 years old. On the surface, he seemed harmless. He worked odd jobs, delivery, driving, warehouse shifts, and kept mostly to himself. But Ethan had a history Natalie didn't know. Neighbors recalled how he had been controlling with previous girlfriends. One former partner, speaking anonymously, said, "At first, he spoils you, pays for things, makes you feel taken care of. But then he turns it into control. He uses money like a leash, and soon Natalie began to feel it too." At first, Ethan would casually ask, "Where are you going tonight?" Then, "Who are you with?" Eventually it became, "If I'm paying your rent, you shouldn't be out with other guys." Natalie confided in her sister Jasmine, saying, "He makes it sound like I owe him something. But I never agreed to anything like that." The pressure mounted. Ethan wanted more than friendship. He wanted a relationship. He wanted control. Natalie resisted. She told him gently, "I'm grateful for your help, but I'm not interested in anything more." For Ethan, that rejection lit a fuse. Over the next few months, his behavior shifted from helpful to menacing. He started showing up uninvited, waiting outside her apartment, sending dozens of texts when she didn't respond. In August 2021, Natalie finally told him to stop paying her rent. She wanted her independence back. She didn't want to feel indebted, but Ethan refused. He kept transferring money to her landlord directly, then used it as leverage. "You wouldn't even have this place without me," he snapped one evening. Natalie confided in a co-worker, "It feels like he thinks he owns me." Friends urged her to cut ties completely. But cutting ties with someone like Ethan wasn't simple. He had already entangled himself in her life. And soon, the situation spiraled out of control. On the night of October 12th, 2021, Natalie had just finished a long shift at the hospital. She stopped by her sister's place to drop off some groceries, then drove home around 9:45 p.m. Neighbors later recalled hearing raised voices around 10:15 p.m. coming from Natalie's apartment. Police would later reconstruct what happened. Ethan was waiting inside. He had a spare key, something Natalie had reluctantly given him months earlier when he offered to help out. Natalie walked in, startled. "What are you doing here?" she asked. Ethan accused her of seeing someone else. He demanded she admit she was using him. Natalie denied it, trying to calm him down. But Ethan snapped. The fight turned violent. A lamp was knocked over. Natalie tried to run toward the door, but Ethan blocked her path. At 10:32 p.m., a neighbor heard a scream, then silence. When police arrived hours later, after a frantic welfare check call from Jasmine, they found Natalie lying on the living room floor, strangled, her phone smashed. The scene told a clear story, a confrontation that turned deadly. Detectives from the Greensboro Police Department took over the case. From the start, suspicion fell on Ethan Ross. He was the last person known to have been with Natalie. He had a documented pattern of jealousy. And when police interviewed him, his story crumbled. At first, he claimed, "I wasn't there. I was at a friend's," but his phone records told a different story. GPS data placed him at Natalie's apartment that night. Even more damning, neighbors had seen his car parked outside. Detectives confronted him. "We know you were there. Tell us what happened." Ethan lowered his head and muttered, "She used me. She made me pay for everything. I just lost it." That statement sealed his fate. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered Ethan's disturbing past. He had a criminal record. In 2015, he was arrested for domestic assault against another woman. The charges were dropped when she refused to testify. In 2018, another ex-girlfriend filed for a restraining order, citing harassment and stalking. But none of this showed up in casual background checks. Natalie had no idea. Prosecutor Daniel Briggs later said, "Ethan Ross had a pattern. He lured women with financial support, then tried to control them. And when they resisted, he turned violent." The trial began in March 2023 at the Guilford County Courthouse. Prosecutors painted a chilling picture. A man obsessed with control, who saw financial support as ownership. They presented text messages where Ethan told Natalie, "You owe me. I don't pay your rent for nothing." They showed photos of the crime scene, the broken lamp, the shattered phone, the marks on Natalie's neck. Natalie's sister Jasmine testified through tears. "She told me she was scared of him. She wanted to break away. She never got the chance." Ethan's defense argued diminished capacity. They claimed he snapped in a moment of passion. But the jury didn't buy it. After just 8 hours of deliberation, the verdict came in: guilty of first-degree murder. Ethan Ross was sentenced to life in prison without parole. For Natalie's family, the verdict brought justice, but not peace. Her mother, Angela, said in her victim impact statement, "No sentence will bring back my daughter. But maybe, just maybe, her story can save someone else." In the months that followed, the Harris family started working with domestic violence advocacy groups. They launched the Natalie Harris Foundation, focused on raising awareness about financial abuse, an often overlooked form of control in abusive relationships. Jasmine now speaks at community events. She tells young women, if someone is paying your bills, ask yourself what they expect in return. Because love doesn't come with receipts. Natalie's story has become a cautionary tale, a reminder that control doesn't always start with violence. Sometimes it starts with kindness, with money, with an offer to help. Natalie wanted a simple life, to help people, to become a nurse, to take care of her family. Instead, her trust was manipulated, her kindness was exploited, and her independence was stolen. Her story forces us to ask difficult questions. How do we recognize financial abuse before it turns deadly? How do we protect those who believe they're just accepting help? If you or someone you know is experiencing control, whether financial, emotional, or physical, reach out. Resources are available. Silence can be deadly. And as always, we want to hear from you. What do you think about Natalie's story? Could this tragedy have been prevented? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Evidence Uncovered, and click the bell icon so you never miss a story. Because every story matters, and every voice deserves to be heard.